The Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team takes out a formidable foe, while women's hockey also takes care of business. And Bobcat's Madness is right around the corner. Our panel previews the upcoming Quinnipiac basketball season. It's a Tuesday night in Hamden, and this is the Bobcat Breakdown. Everyone, and welcome to the Bobcat Breakdown presented by the Quinnipiac Bobcat Sports Network. I'm Jon Alba, and tonight we begin the trudge towards the winter season. But before we do that, let's meet the panel first. First off, our own resident Rick Nash, Connor Fortier. How you doing, Connor?
I'm doing well, John. Thank you.
It's good to have you on board, Connor. Next up, you can often find him in Burt Con scouting volleyball. It's Morey Hershgordon.
Hey, John. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Morey, it is such a pleasure to have a freshman of your caliber on this program. And then finally, I didn't want him to be on, but it was against my will, the professor, Jordan Katz.
John, how you doing this evening?
Well, I'll be doing much better when you're off this program afterwards. But anyway, thanks for joining us, guys. And listen, it's an all-new set, it's an all-new panel, and it's time for the breakdown. Let's get started. So, why take one when you can take two? Well, that's what Rand Pecknold's ideology was, as his men's ice hockey squad defeated the Riverhawks of UMASS Lowell in consecutive nights last weekend. Quinnipiac defeated UMass Lowell 3-1 Friday night in Massachusetts and repeated the result the very next night at High Point Solutions Arena. Michael Gartig made 44 saves over the two games and is leading the way for a recharged Bobcats team. The squad even climbed from 14th to 9th in the USCHO.com poll. Gentlemen, was the sweep of UMass Lowell a case of the early season doldrums for the Riverhawks? Or is Quinnipiac poised to make another run? Let's start with Connor.
Well, John, I think the Quinnipiacs are poised to make another run this season. They looked excellent over the weekend. You can especially point out in Jordan Samuels-Thomas. He had a goal on Friday night and a goal on Saturday night as well. Also getting 2 assists on Friday night, huge for the power play as well. But the power play I want to touch upon. We all know last year they started off over 30, and it was a little rough to start. But right now they're 2 for 9 on the power play, and also the penalties. They got to make sure not to take as many penalties as they possibly can. They have 33 minutes so far on penalties over the weekend. I think if they just clean up the penalty minutes and the power play, I think they'll be poised to make another run, like you said, John.
So the penalties seem to be the issue in your mind. Well, let's go over to Jordan here. Do you agree with that?
John, I would. I think that they need to do a better job staying out of the box, despite the fact they are 20 for 22 so far killing off penalties, and they have a shorthanded goal. They really need to do a better job staying out of the box. But Connor mentioned the power play. What's very interesting about this team is the fact that they have more offensive firepower this year than they had last year. And that's very interesting when you think that they brought back 4 of their 5 big-time scorers. You talk about Matthew Pekka, Jordan Samuels-Thomas, the Joneses. The impact of the freshmen on this team, Peter Quenville, Connor Clifton, Sam Annis, they've had a major impact on this squad, both from a scoring standpoint as well as defensively. Sam Annis in particular has done an excellent job of back-checking on that second line.
But are those freshmen going to be enough to offset the departing seniors?
That power, I think they will be. I actually think that this team might be better. They might be more talented than last year's team. I don't know if they're going to be better, but I think they are more talented. And again, going back to the power play, they have 5 power play goals in the year so far. They didn't score their 5th power play goal until midway through the 11th game last year. Morty, that's incredible.
That is incredible. I mean, aside from the power play, though, I think the reason why they've started off so well is their goalie, Michael Gartig. I mean, he's one of 5 goalies this past weekend to have 2 wins in the weekend. The only goalie to have 2 wins against a ranked opponent in UMass Lowell. We know UMass Lowell was in the Frozen Four last year. He was behind Hartzell all last year. In practice, you could tell how Hartzell worked with him. It's now his team, and it's on his shoulders.
He's been excellent positioning-wise as well. If you watch him during games, John, he's terrific from post to post. He really does a good job of making sure that he sees shooting lanes. He's put himself in position to make saves, and he's put this team in position to consistently win games. Will that continue as this season goes on? I don't know.
Well, let me ask Connor that. Do you think, Connor, that is something that's going to carry on? Do you think Michael Gartig is the answer? Do you think he's in a better position than Eric Hartzell was coming into last season? Because remember about Eric Hartzell, this is a guy who was splitting time with someone like Dan Clark, and now all of a sudden that changes up.
Well, as Jordan said, Gartig does look good from this past weekend, but there's one point I want to make out. I don't know how strong he is. Hartzell's very tall, very built. But right now, I don't know how strong Gartig is. Gartig, the 2 goals he let up on Friday and Saturday, they were both very kind of soft goals. The second one on Saturday, he was kind of looking for a whistle if you listen to him after the post-game press conference. But he needed to stay strong in the post there, and he eventually got the puck right pushed through him. For Friday night, he kind of let up a loose rebound, and they had 2 or 3 whacks at it. I think if he improves his strength and how he's built and how tall he stands in the net, he could be better than Eric Hartzell.
Well, Connor, I agree with you. Hold on. Go ahead.
I personally think Gartig is in an excellent position right now. In hockey, it's all about riding that hot hand. They lost the first game of the year, but now 3 straight wins, 1 on the road at UMASS Lowell, who was preseason #1 in the country. You come back home on a banner night, you get a win. Yeah, he gave up a goal early, but his offense came back, supported him, gave him 2 more quick goals to have the lead. They never let that down. I think it's all about riding the hot hand, and his confidence is high right now.
Well, you nailed it dead on the head there, gentlemen, and you know what? I'm glad to see that for once we actually have some back and forth going here, but we already mentioned that the men's team is 9th in the USCHO.com poll. Well, the women, they've also found success. They also jumped to 9th after dropping 9 goals in 2 wins over Maine this past weekend. The team sports a balanced scoring attack with ECAC star Kelly Babstock leading the way, but aren't too shabby between the pipes either. Chelsea Layden's .52 goals against average has provided the Bobcats with 4 of its 5 wins so far. The women's Frozen Fours in Hamden in February, right down the road. So the number 9 ranking for both teams, let's break them down. Morey, let's start with you.
Well, John, I think you nailed it right on the head. It starts with Chelsea Layden. Not only does she sport a .52 goals against average, she holds a .974 saves percentage, and she has 3 shutouts. All 3 of them lead the nation. Aside from that, along with Kelly Babstock up top is freshman Emma Woods. Emma Woods has 9 points on the year. She's tied with North Dakota's Lauren Stalder for the most points in the country as a freshman so far. You know, it might be her goal to try to pass Babstock's freshman points record, but you know, together the tandem's going to be awesome up top. It's going to be fun to watch this year.
Morey, to be honest with you, I don't know if I agree with you on the Layden point. She's facing less than 20 shots a game right now. That's a credit to the Bobcats defensive unit. There is some inconsistencies here. She's not that great positionally, and despite the fact she's off to a hot start, remember the competition that she's played. Remember the offense that she's gotten so far through 5 games. 4 and 5 goals to add up to 9 in a 2-game series. That's absurd. That's not going to happen night in and night out. Chelsea Layden is going to have to win this team games down the stretch. Connor, I'm not so sure she can do that just yet.
Yeah, I like how you mentioned how the opponents. They faced Penn State last weekend. They crushed them. They Penn State 2 weekends ago, sorry. Then they faced Maine last weekend. Both not very formidable opponents. Penn State not that good, Maine not that good. When we get into the ECAC plea, I think Chelsea Layden's going to have to step up because she has big shoes to fill, just like Gartig from Vigilante. Vigilante was one of the best women's goaltenders we've ever had in our program before, and I think right now she's a little untested. Like you said, didn't face many shots. She's got her flaws, if she has any, will be pointed out.
Well, let me ask you this, Connor. Do you see Rick Seeley saying, hey, let's get the freshman, Sydney Rossman, a little more playing time at some point?
I'm really surprised they didn't give Sydney Rossman any playing time. I think we argued about it last weekend. If they crushed the first game in Maine, are we going to see Rossman in the second game? And they did not. They went with Layden.
She found some time. She was able to get in net, and we've seen her in the net before. But my question to you is, down the stretch, you've got someone heading out. You've got this young blood coming in, highly touted. Do you think that we see more of her as the season goes on?
I think we definitely will. I think it's a large workload for Chelsea Layden to take over, being 100% starter after Vigilante. I think they're going to have to throw in Rossman, like you said, highly touted. She's got to get some. I think the coach said at the media night that she's never seen a freshman goalie improve like this. So I think we're definitely expected to see her show up towards the end.
Guys, I mean, like, look at this Friday. They go on the road at number 7 Harvard. It's going to be a great test. Then they go to Dartmouth on Saturday night. You're going to see if Layden can play well, then it's going to be hers to lose.
The thing that both 2 teams have in common is that they have offensive firepower. The goaltenders have a little bit of leniency as far as their early season start goes, and that might help them later on down the road.
Absolutely. Well, we got to wrap things up here, but when we come back, Jordan gives us his State of the Q Union address for Quinnipiac basketball, and women's team guard Boo Abshire swings by the studio. We'll be right back with the Bobcat Break. The Bobcat Shop, located at 1010 Sherman Avenue in Hamden. Your number one choice for Bobcat merchandise. The Bobcat Shop features 2 floors of countless styles and colors. With a full 19,000 square foot screen printing and embroidery operation on the premises, Campus Customs and Simplify can design and decorate any garment or promotional product as quickly as needed. Stop in and say hi.
Allow me to take this time to address to you the state of the Q Union. We begin with the election of the Bobcats to the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. For the QU men's basketball team, this will bring about a challenge that some feel they may not be prepared for. Head coach Tom Moore likes to have his teams play tough, man-to-man defense and rebound the basketball. However, the Bobcats are entering an offensive-loaded conference, and their defensive tactics will surely be tested. If they can succeed at forcing teams to shoot a low percentage, they can do very well. Next, we go to the defending champions of the Northeast Conference, the QU women's basketball squad. As they enter the MAC, they come in preseason ranked number 3, behind Iona. Hey, MAC coaches, just a quick question. Did you guys vote for Ralph Nader in the last election as well? Trish Fabry's squad loves to force turnovers, play pressure defense, and get out in transition. This is a recipe for success in the new conference. Now, there are many choices for MVPs of these squads for the season, or as we'll call them for this segment, Chief Justices. With 2 open slots available, 1 for each team for those who didn't get that analogy, I'll take Ike Azatam and Jasmine Martin to lead these squads towards that coveted NCAA berth. Azatam has the opportunity to dominate what is a guard-driven conference. If he and Usman Drame can be the better tandem in the front court night in and night out, the Bobcats can go deep into the MAC postseason. Jasmine Martin has the challenge to take over the scoring that is vacated by Felicia Barron, who the Bobcats lost to graduation. Barron not only scored over 14 points per game for the Bobcats, but she was also a dominant defender, averaging over 3 steals per game. Martin will have to pick up her games on both ends of the floor to replace Barron, but I believe that she is ready to do so. Lastly, we must pick a president in this great union. The coach, I believe, has more success this season. With my vote, I elect Senator Trish Fabry. I think the expectations for the women's team are a little higher than the men's squad, but I think that's appropriate. Fabry's Bobcats should immediately be the second best team in the MAC, and at the very least, they should challenge perennial powerhouse the Marist Red Foxes for supremacy as early as this season. Senator Tom Moore has a tougher task. His team's not as skilled and faces a major step up in competition, whereas the NEC was actually better in RPI than the MAC last season on the women's side. I think the men's squad has the ability to surprise, but Fabry's squad might have the talent to make the NCAA tournament as an at-large. All in all, there are a lot of great times ahead in this great nation, and John, the excitement may start as early as this season.
Well, we've never quite had a segment like that, Jordan, so thank you so much for that State of the Q Union. But right now I'm joined by one of the members of those perennial squads you mentioned, Jordan, Boo Abshire, the women's basketball team. Boo, thanks so much for joining us today.
Anytime.
So he mentioned there in his little statement that he could see you guys getting in as an at-large. That's not the mission for you, is that?
Oh, definitely not. Our number 1 mission is to win a championship first and then get to the NCAA tournament.
So you enter this new conference. Are you worried about winning a championship with these new foes, such as the Red Foxes?
I mean, it's definitely going to be a different experience because we have no idea what these teams are about. But I'm definitely not scared, or I think we're definitely ready. I think we're ready for it.
So how do you get ready for that season? Because you guys lose Felicia Barron, one of the most talented women's basketball players, maybe even the best that this school has ever seen. You lose someone like Lisa Lieback, who off the bench is an extreme help for you, and even Shelby Safara as well as a senior captain. How do you go about?
We're just doing what we've always been doing, just getting better at those things that we do. Obviously, we're going to miss Felicia, but we're all trying to play defense like Felicia did. We're working on our presses and, with the new 10-second rule, I think that will work to our advantage a lot. Offensively, I don't think we're going to skip a beat between Brittany McQueen, Jasmine Martin, Nicoline Ostergaard. I mean, you could throw any of our guards in there, and I don't think we're going to skip a beat.
Well, last season we saw your team utilize the Gold Rush, and for those who are unaware of what the Gold Rush is, it's basically like hockey lines, 2 rotations of players coming in and out, saving you guys a little bit of, saving you guys some energy and giving yourselves a chance to rest. Should we expect to see something similar this year? Now, I know you may not be able to go into full details, but what is this team going to be made up of?
I think we should expect that. I mean, last year, we literally, like you said, had 10 people playing, and it just creates a better atmosphere for the team, better chemistry. Everyone's happy, everyone's playing, and again, everyone goes in for 2 minutes, 3 minutes at their hardest. So the team's getting the other team's playing against fresh legs.
Let's talk about you here for a second. You're a junior. You're hungry. You got to the NCAA tournament. It was even in your neck of the woods down in Maryland. Mm-hmm. Awesome experience for you, I'm sure. How bad do you want it again?
Oh, there's no words to describe how bad I want it again. It's like you get it once and you think that you'll be satisfied, but I will not be satisfied unless I get there 2 more times.
So what should we expect out of your team this year?
Big things. We'll be there for sure.
Big things. They'll be there for sure. You heard it here on the Bobcat Breakdown first. We're going to send it to a break here, but when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about basketball, and we'll talk about a little volleyball too. We'll be right back here on the Bobcat Breakdown.
I could really go for a Ray and Mike sub right now.
Come to Ray and Mike's and try our Philly chicken with cheese for just over $4, giant cheesesteak subs, and mouth-watering boar's head sandwiches for as low as $4.75. Q-Cash accepted just a mile down the road on Whitney, here at Ray and Mike's.
Welcome back to the Breakdown. I'm Jon Alba. We just heard from Jordan about what the basketball teams will be up to this winter, but let's open it up to the rest of the panel. New conference, new expectations. Morey, what are yours for these teams?
Well, John, I think Jordan was right about competing in the MAC against Iona this year, against the Red Foxes in Marist. But I think if you look at the beginning of their season out of the conference, if they defeat North Carolina A&T on November 8th, assuming Louisville wins their first game of the women's NIT, they will go to Louisville, a team who upset Baylor in the Sweet 16 of the NCAA women's tournament last year. That's a game where they could open some eyes if they could win on the road, like you guys talked about. If they don't win the MAC Conference Championship, an at-large is big with that game. But in the conference, I think they're going to be in the top. But
with that logic, you're saying that if they go against Louisville and they drop the ball, then basically their whole at-large ideology is out the window, no?
No, they still have St. John's on their schedule. They still have a couple other teams that they can maybe salvage their non-conference schedule. But I think they're going to dominate in the MAC. I think they're going to be a force to reckon with the big three in Boo, Jasmine, and Brittany McQueen.
Jordan, I want to hear what you have to say about this.
I don't know if that game against Louisville's a test. I don't know if they're ready for that game against Louisville, John, because this team still lost Felicia Barrett.
And keep in mind, what would happen when they went against Maryland in the NCAA tournament?
Absolutely. I don't know if they're ready for that game against Louisville. I like the point that you brought up about St. John's, and that's very interesting. St. John's in the game last year, despite the fact that Quinnipiac won, St. John's outplayed the Bobcats. That game is their entire non-conference schedule. That must be a win. If that's not a win, then they have one route to win, to make the NCAAs, and that is to win the conference.
And what about you, Connor, in regards to the women's team?
Well, I think definitely they have high hopes for this season. Pick to finish third. I don't really agree with that. Like Jordan said before, I think they should be ahead of Iona. Marist has won 8 straight, so they're the perennial powerhouses in the MAC. But, I mean, you got to look at the big three, like we just had Boo Abshire on here, but also Brittany McQueen. She picked second team all preseason MAC, so look for her, and Brittany Martin as well. not Brittany Martin, sorry. Brittany McQuain, sorry. Brittany McQuain and Jasmine Martin, got those two names confused. But look for those two people, players to lead the way for the Bobcats this
John, you know what's
aside from the players, I think you look at Trisha Fabry. She's preseason coach of the year in the MAC. You move up a conference into a mid-major conference. You're picked to be the coach of the year coming off an undefeated NEC regular season. I think you can look at the head honcho and Trisha Fabry.
I don't know if that's all of a surprise, though.
No, it's not at all. I was at NEC Media Day last year, and when Quinnipiac was picked number 1 in the NEC last year, quite literally, Fabry said, we're not surprised. Shouldn't be a surprise here, but let's transition now. That's a good point you bring up. Let's talk about the men here. Tom Moore, a lot of people are thinking, hey, maybe this guy could be coach of the year in the MAC as his squad comes in. Jordan, I want to hear your thoughts on this because I personally believe this may be the men's best chance to win a conference championship over the next 3 or 4 years.
Well, you know I could go off on this for 10, 15,
let's keep it
20
down to
minutes,
30
but
seconds.
I'll keep this short. I think the men's team has the ability to surprise. I think the men's team plays terrific defense. I think they control tempo. And I think they hold teams to low field goal percentages, and that's big, especially when you go into an offensive loaded conference. Here's the problem. They struggled to control the tempo against LIU every time they played them. And these teams are more like LIU than they are the other teams in the conference, whereas they get up and down the floor, and they have the ability to score, and especially from their guards. And the Bobcats don't do well with that.
Let me pose this to Morey now. Morey, most important player for the men's basketball team this year.
Most important player obviously has to be Ike Azatam. As Jordan said in his Q Union, it's a guard-dominated league. He led the team last year in rebounds per game. If he can dominate down low, they have the guard play. Of their top 5 scorers, they return all of them. 4 juniors, 1 senior. Bobcats are primed to make a run this year.
I got to cut you off. I said Ike Azatam was the MVP. I didn't say Ike Azatam was the most important player. Those are sometimes 2 different awards, as sports fans know. The most important player to this team is, without a doubt, not a question, Ousmane Drame. If Ousmane Drame can actually stay on the floor rather than getting in foul trouble, that to me is the best front court in the MAC. Well, and they can dominate teams offensively.
Let Connor get in here before we wrap it up.
Well, Katz, what would you think about Evan Conti? He shot 38% from the beyond the arc last year. Like you said, this is a fast-paced conference compared to the NEC. Would you consider he'd have any type of impact? I mean, I think he's probably one of the more important players on this team.
I know
right
what
now.
Jordan's going to say here, and Jordan's basically going to tell us that down low drama is more important because Conti, the thing about the guards on this team, there's a plethora of them, and Conti may not even be starting. They bring in Umar Shannon out from the NEC. Conti, he's part of the equation, but he's not the equation. Ousmane Drame is absolutely, I 100% agree with you on that, Jordan. You got the Twin Towers down low. You have to utilize that. We have to move on, though. The winter season's around the corner, but fall sports are still in session. Crew, give me your fall sports most valuable player. Let's start with Connor.
Well, there's plenty of great athletes this fall, but the most valuable player to their team is easily Borja Ngoita, the men's soccer goalkeeper. He's just been putting up stellar numbers. It's tough for a goalkeeper to put up better numbers from the year beforehand, but even this year he's put up stellar numbers. He's got a .85 goals against average and a .808 save percentage. Big numbers for a soccer goalkeeper, but it's the fact that this team has hit a rut recently towards the middle of the season where they haven't been scoring goals. There's been 2 double overtime ties where it's just been 0-0, and every day Borja gives them a chance to win, and that's why I think he's easily the most valuable player on any fall sport team.
Let's go to Morey.
Yeah, but John, I mean, Connor, I like the point with Borja. I'm going to have to go with Simon Hine on this one. Senior midfielder, facilitator in the middle of the field. He's really the reason that the Bobcats have hit a great stretch. They're 3-0-1 to start the MAC conference. They're now 5-3-4 overall. They're atop the conference. We're going to have to see this weekend how well they play. Borja's out with an injury for the rest of the year. Hines in the middle. We're going to have to see how he plays against Monmouth, who's undefeated, and Manhattan, who's the only team in the conference with 1 loss. I think I think he is the MVP, and we're definitely going to see if that stays true this weekend.
Yeah, I think you guys are going to have an excellent debate here as the season winds down. John, I'm going to take Nale Costco. She was picked before the season started, guys, as one of USA's Rugby's top 5 players to watch, and she has not disappointed. She's got 4 tries in the last 2 games. That's incredible. She's got the team at a 7-2 record. I know a lot of people don't necessarily follow rugby, but she's been tremendous this season, John.
Well, if you had a chance to pick up QBSN, the magazine, and you turn to the last page, you'll see an excellent spread by yours truly about how all you have to do is try. But great discussion, guys. And before we go, QBSN Shane Doyle gives us a look at women's volleyball star Emma Ogden.
I think there is no limit. As long as we keep our unforced errors at a minimum, I think we could take any team in our conference.
Meet Emma Ogden, the ever-so-confident freshman setter for the volleyball team. That confidence is why Coach Zaplinski thought she would be the perfect fit for the rebuilding program.
Because she wants it. She has that desire to change a program. She has that desire to prove something to people. And that's exactly what I want from my recruits coming over here. They have to want to be here. They have to want to change the program.
And while the freshman is confident, just last year Quinnipiac wasn't even on her radar until an email arrived.
Late in my senior year, I got an email from Coach saying, kind of explaining where Quinnipiac is and what it's all about and how the program is. And so we went back and forth in emails. And
it's always a shot in the dark when you're going through an email and you don't talk to someone in person. But I knew if she got on campus, she would love the campus. She would love the team, and hopefully she would buy into what we're doing over here.
Coach was right, as Ogden knew this is where she wanted to continue her volleyball career.
Kind of a drive-by almost. We came, we looked at it, and as soon as I saw it, I told my mom, this is where I want to go. And she was like, don't get your hopes up, we haven't talked to Coach yet or anything. So I came on unofficial the next day, and it all just kind of worked out.
Since arriving, she has made an immediate impact, winning a MAC Player of the Week award and Rookie of the Week award.
Just a lot of hard work, a lot of communication with Coach. We're constantly talking back and forth about what I need to do to get better, what I need to do to help the team win.
While the program is in a state of transition, she sees improvement each day.
People are used to us losing. Teams are used to coming in here and killing us, and having that mentality of that's not going to happen anymore, I think really changed our game.
For Q30 Sports, I'm Shane Doyle.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Bobcat Breakdown, only on Q30 Television. Don't forget to find out more about the Bobcat Breakdown by following the Quinnipiac Bobcat Sports Network on Twitter at QBSN, and, of course, head over to theqbsn.com. You can also check out Q30 Sports on Twitter at Q30 Sports. For Connor Fortier, Jordan Katz, and Morey Hershgordon, I'm Jon Alba, and this has been The Breakdown.